Section 6.7, Applications of Percents. Today we're going to talk about things like sales tax, tips, discounts, and maybe even markups. If you have ever asked yourself the question, when am I really going to use this? That's a legit question. I'll give you that. But what I'm going to talk about today is real. If you ever plan on going out to eat, this applies to you. If you ever plan on buying anything, ever, this applies to you. And if you ever plan on being a thoughtful citizen and tipping accordingly, this applies to you. If you've ever wondered who pays for the nice roads that you drive on or bridges that allow you to cross dangerous rivers that you would never be able to drive across on a car without a bridge, or road signage that protects everyone by having certain people stop or stoplights, or who pays for the books in your school or the building that you go to school in. All of these things are paid for through community and state and federal taxes. That means that we do, the people, we pay taxes, and then the government gives us some nice things to use. So how that is figured out is it's always a percentage. So the people who spend more money contribute a little bit more than those who spend a little less. So it's a percentage. It's based on the amount that you spend. So in the city of Bellevue, our tax rate is 7%. That means when you go out to eat, you add on an extra 7% to pay for all of those extra nice things that make a city really nice. So this is how you figure out sales tax. If you look at this Carrabba's Italian Grill receipt, you can see that the total for the meal was $115.20. Well, they're going to add on the extra sales tax. Well, it's 7% of the total, and 7% of the total would or could mean multiplying. So that would be 7% of the total of $115.20. Well, to find 7% of that, you would simply change your percent to a decimal, which is 0.07, times $115.20. Now, for the sake of time, actually, I can do this one. All right, 115.2, you don't need the zero on the end, times 0.07. So I'm going to do 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 5 is 35, plus 1 is 36. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 3 is 10. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 1 is 8. I don't need to go through and multiply this 0 because all it's going to do is give me a row of zeros. So then what I do is I just go back and count. There are 1, 2, 3 numbers behind the decimal. So I move my decimal back 3 places. Now, money always goes out 2 places. So I would round, and this 4 lets my 6 stay the same. So that's the amount of extra that I'm paying on this bill. So then it has to be added in. So my bill was already $115.20, and then I'm going to add my $8.06 for sales tax, and my total bill would be $123.26. Now, when you get older, you're going to realize that there might be a faster way to do this. And the faster way to do that is to think of, you're going to pay for your whole bill, which is 100%, plus the extra. So you are going to pay for all of the bill, which is 100%, plus an extra 7%. Well, if you would think about that, that's 107%. So if I think of 107% of my bill, which is $115.20, now I can just move my decimal back and I can multiply 1.07 times my $115.20, and when you multiply that, you should end up with the exact same total that you did here, $123.26. All right, one more example. Look at the sales receipt over in the corner. If I total up my two items, I have a total of, that's 50 cents, and then I have $399.50 at a sales tax rate of 7%. So I'm paying for the whole bill plus the 7% for a total of 107%. So I am paying 107% of $399.50. So I'm going to change that to 1.07 times $399.50, and that total bill would be, what comes up is 427,465. But remember, our money system only goes out to the hundredths. So I would look at that 5 and it tells my 6 to become a 7. So they are going to round up to $427.47. And that is how you find sales tax. Several of your fellow Americans work in the service industry. And if they work in the service industries, many of them rely on payment based on service. And that's in the form of a tip. So when you go out to eat, it is strongly recommended that you tip your server. Most of those people don't make, like minimum wage, and so they require or they rely on tips in order to make a living. So remember that your servers, that's their living wage. That's how they're going to go home and pay their bills. So try not to be tempted to be that guy who tries to save a few bucks and not tip your waiter or waitress. Okay, so let's talk about tip. Look at the first picture. The total is $8. It is recommended that you tip your server 15 to 20% based on your service. So if you wanted to tip 15% of that bill of $8, you would do 15% of your $8 bill. Well, all that is multiplication, so 0.15 times 8. That is going to give you the amount that you should add on extra. So if I do off to the side, 0.15 times 8, 8 times 5 is 40, carry the 4, 8 times 1 is 8, plus 4 is 12. You move it back 2 decimal places. So the tip itself should be $1.20. So you add $1.20 onto your $8 bill. So you would pay a total of $9.20. The restaurant keeps the $8, your waitress keeps the $1.20. Okay, now let's look at the other example. Maybe you had a waiter or waitress that did a really, really good job, and you are going to tip them 20%. So you are going to find 20% of your total of $58.64. So if you change of to multiplication, you are going to change that to 0.2 times $58.64. So I have $58.64 times 0.2. So I have 8, 12, 16, 17, carry the 1, 11. And I have 3 places that I need to bring my decimal back. Well, remember we round, so that would actually be $11.73. That's the tip. So that is the extra that you would add on to your total. Okay, so I am adding up my total here, and that is going to be a total of $70.37. For the sake of time, let's just talk about discounts. Maybe you've seen your mom or dad use a coupon, or you've gone to a store and there has been a sign that says, 20% off, everything 40% off. Well, that means that you don't have to pay full price. Now, there are a couple of different ways to do this. So let's say that you go to a store and you find an item for $40. That's the regular price. But you have this coupon right here that says that you get 20% off. Well, one way that you could do it is think about how much you're going to save. You are going to save 20% of $40. So if I work that through, this would be multiply. So 40, and I'm going to change my percent to a decimal, so that would be 40 times 0.2. So that is $8. That's what you don't have to pay for. So you would take that away from your original cost. So if it was $40, but you don't have to pay $8, your total would be $32. But there's actually a shortcut to that. If you don't have to pay the whole thing would be 100%. But if you don't have to pay for the whole thing, you only have to pay, or you don't have to pay for 20%, so then you only have to pay for 80%. So this is the shortcut. If you don't pay for 20, you pay for 80. So then you could just find 80% of that item, which is the full price is $40. So then you would take your 0.8 times 40. And 40 times 0.8, 8 times 0 is 0. 8 times 4 is 32. You move it back one place, so paying for 80% would be a total of $32, which I also found the same way by finding the discount and subtracting. The only thing that I really want you to be careful about on this is if they ask for the discount itself. If the question is asking how much did you save or how much was the discount, that wants to know how much you saved. And this is how much you saved. So be careful if the question is asking you for the new sale price or what the discount was. Let's do one more example. Let's say that you really want a new pair of Nike Roshis, and they sell typically for $130. However, they are having a 1-week special for 15% off. Well, that means that if you don't have to pay for 15%, paying for all of it would be 100%. But 100% minus 15% would mean that you are really paying for 85% of that normal price. So you are going to pay for 85% of the 130. Once you get to this point, it's simply a matter of multiplication. So change your percent to a decimal. Change of to multiply. And then it's just a multiplication problem with decimals. So you have $130 times 0.85. So 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 3 is 15, carry the 1. 5 times 1 plus 1 is 6. Don't forget your placeholder. 8 times 0 is 0. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 1 plus the 2 you carried is 10. So 0, 5, 10, 1, 1. You had 2 decimal places. So that sale price, because you saved 15%, didn't have to pay for 15% of it, you are only going to have to pay $110.50. That would be your discount price.